Cascade Hoops Talk, bringing the world NAIA basketball one podcast at a time. Good morning, Billy D, Cascade Hoops Talk. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Thursday morning. Time to get up and at 'em. Today we're going to have Ryan Batte, first team All-American, Mid-South Player of the Year, Thomas More Saints. This guy is fun to watch. He's big, he's strong as a bull. He's a little bit short, undersized, but he controls the pace at the post better than anybody I've ever seen. He has, he's going to talk about, he's got the most deadly turnaround kind of fallback jumper I've ever seen. He's going to talk about that. He's going to just talk about his basketball career. He's going to talk about his relationship with head coach Justin Ray, as well as what it's meant to him to be part of Thomas More basketball. Also talk a lot about their great Final Four season this year. Hey, let's listen to Ryan Batte, Thomas More Saints basketball. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. I have Ryan Batte from Thomas More University, first team All-American. Thank you, Ryan, for being on the show.
Yes, sir. Glad to be on the show.
You know, Ryan, I want to talk to you about actually a pretty amazing basketball career. You know, but before I do that, I just got to tell you, congratulations on the season you guys had. I think it was wasn't that the first Mid-South title that you guys had won, regular season title?
Yes, sir. We that was actually a very exciting thing for us because we had two super dominant teams that one won a national championship and the other, potentially the Georgetown team, could have won a national championship. So it was a little bit tougher for us the 2 years before, but this year we got it done.
Yeah, that's a heck of a conference, and we're going to talk more about that as well. But I also want to congratulate you on being named a first team All-American and, you know, just the overall season you guys had. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Ryan, your basketball really goes back to Oak Hills High School. You had a really good career there. You grew up in Cincinnati, right?
Yes, sir. So I actually didn't move to the Oak Hills district until my 7th grade year. So I kind of got a late start on getting to know everybody and being around that area. You were team captain your senior year. You were a 1,000-point scorer there at Oak Hills, and you played with a guy named Luke Rudy in high school as well. Wow. Yep. Was he a year older than you? Was he the same age? Same. We graduated the same year, actually, yeah.
Well, what was that like to be able to go and play college ball with a guy you played high school ball with?
Oh, it was a blessing. I mean, Luke is probably one of my favorite teammates ever. When he came, it was already an instant mesh. We knew each other's games already and thrived in high school and even in college together. So we kind of fed off of each other.
Yeah, that just seems like it'd be a pretty cool thing to be able to go through. You know, your senior year, you guys were really good. You went 23-4, and then you went up against Springfield. I know you remember that game.
Yep.
You ended up losing that game. I think it went overtime.
Yep.
You score 15, but do you remember a guy named Michael McKay hitting a deep three at the end of that game?
Yes, sir. I remember vividly. I remember every single thing that happened, every single play that happened in overtime and what got us to overtime.
So talk a little bit about that game with Springfield. That was just a legendary Ohio basketball war there, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. We had a great season, like you said. We went into that game knowing that there wasn't anybody that we couldn't beat. Like we had ran into Moeller, lost to them, but that was a close game. That's probably one of the toughest teams that we've ever played. But we went into that game with a great game plan. They had two great players. Both of them they actually ended up playing D1 football, but they were two great players that we had to handle and try to contain. But I think we did well enough to beat them, but they came out in overtime and they were hitting some tough shots and made some big shots, obviously. But for us, I think we played well enough, but we just couldn't hit free throws down the stretch, and I think that's what kind of hurt us a little bit.
So you finished up your high school career, and then you decided to go up to D2 Ashland University to begin your career. So talk about that decision process. How did you end up in Ashland?
So I didn't get many offers until the summer of middle of my junior year. They were mostly D2 offers, and Ashland was actually, I think, the first school that I went to go visit. I had my first offer from Christian Brothers, and then I had visited Hillsdale, Ashland, Bellarmine, but I wasn't offered yet. But I went up there, and the coach was a really great recruiter. He had a lot of guys that were in my ear. I'm not sure if you heard of a guy named Wendell Davis that went there.
Yeah.
He was an All-American. Actually, our games are kind of similar, but he kind of took me under his wing. Even when I wasn't there, he was in my phone texting me, letting me know like he'll be glad to have us, things like that. But they had a lot of older guys with experience that would stay in my ear about the school, about the coach, about the program.
So you went up there. It really wasn't a good fit for you basketball wise, or appears. I want to put words in your mouth, but
right.
it didn't really seem like the home you were really looking for. How did you end up going over to Thomas More?
Actually, from my home, it's about 3.5 hours. So obviously, first year, second year, homesick, still young, not really not getting the full college experience because I'm missing home so much. So the thing with Coach Ray is I've known Coach Ray since middle school. Basically, when I got to the Oak Hills district,
wow.
He actually coached me in AAU for like 2 tournaments playing with the Shining Stars and Coach Price, and he was my coach. And it's a funny story because he does remember this, but I remember vividly. He took me home from a national tournament in Louisville, and we had some issues with the car, and he was joking around with it and everything. But he had brought me back home. He doesn't remember this, but so what happened was when I was ready to leave Ashland, we obviously had connections because you couldn't really talk. You can't really talk to coaches unless you're in a transfer portal. So I had to wait on that. But we had guys talking for each other, talking through.
Yeah.
Like my trainer, my dad couldn't talk to him, so like we kind of were communicating, but really weren't because you couldn't.
Right, I understand.
Coach Ray had told me before, like if you want to come back home, like he's told the Luke Rudies, like the Keegan Sabins that we had before, that were close to home. He always says if you guys want to come back home and play, then he's always open to it. But I came in the second semester of my second year, and they took me in, brought me in with open arms, and that's when everything had got started. So
you transferred right in the middle of that first season, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I got to ask you, you played in a pretty competitive league in high school. You had a pretty successful high school career. Talk about the transition to playing college ball.
I would say the pace is a lot faster. You play against a lot bigger and stronger guys, a lot smarter guys. For me, in high school, I was literally playing positionless basketball. So I was playing 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And in college, it's more of a set position. So like in college, at Ashland, I was playing a 4. So I was playing against guys that were 2 or 3 inches taller than me and bigger than me. And that's kind of how I got used to that, playing the position I was at Thomas More. The pace is definitely faster, but I'm the kind of player that kind of likes to play at my own pace. I don't let anybody speed me up, but the pace and being in shape is huge in college, especially if you want to play 30+. Playing in a conference like the GLIAC was tough. I played 2 games at Ashland, the GLIAC, and the competition was crazy. And then obviously in the Mid-South, it's probably one of the best conferences. So being in shape and being conditioned is probably the biggest thing as far as transition.
Ryan, you mentioned Coach Ray a couple times. He and then you talked about you like to play kind of a deliberate pace. I don't know if that's the right word, but I want to ask you about that. Your team, your Thomas More team, probably one of the most disciplined offenses I've ever watched, and that seems to come right from Coach Ray. When you sit behind him on the bench, I mean, he expects very explicitly what's going to happen and the pace it's going to happen, and then that drives through you guys on the floor. Can you just talk about your culture there and how you guys make that happen?
So the makeup of our team is a lot different than most teams that we've played against. So obviously, like if you look at our team and then you look at other teams, you're like this team, like as far as size wise, athleticism and everything, just don't match up. We just didn't match up with other teams. So the way we made up for that was through discipline. So we were going to play harder, crash the boards. We were going to play defense, play smart, all those things. So we kind of took that identity because we knew that athletically we couldn't really match up with other teams, so we made up for that through discipline. Our offense obviously is a lot different than a lot of other teams that we play, so that kind of helped us a lot and helped us become smarter players. And I think that's kind of what helped us in that run in the tournament and even in our conference, because we play teams in our conference that are just as good as maybe any team in the entire NAIA. So
absolutely, yep.
The discipline thing, Coach Ray just pounded it in our head. He said, we're not going to be the most athletic team, but we're going to be the most disciplined, and we're going to play harder than everyone else.
So was Coach Rice was Mike Price your coach in high school? Was he a similar type of coach?
Yes, sir. Yes. That's exactly kind of where I got my playing style from, like that kind of like slowed down pace, being patient, being smart, being a smarter player. Having high IQ and knowing where to be, knowing where other guys have to be. So that's And what's crazy is Coach Ray actually played for Coach Price as well in high school.
Oh, I didn't know that. So there's a thread that runs through the whole thing.
Right, exactly.
You have I call it the most deadly turnaround jump shot in college basketball. Where did this come from?
So it kind of came to me at Oak Hills. I mean, I just think that the mid-range has like kind of died away.
Yeah.
It came back around in the NBA, but like as far as high school and college basketball, like I feel like it's just the easiest shot. Like if you get it down, because you can get to your spot. Usually in the mid-range, that's where your defender relaxes. So I've tried since I've started shooting that shot in high school. I've just been working on it throughout the summers and throughout the season.
Watching you, Ryan, it looks like the challenge for you is to get to your spot. If you can get to that spot, you'll hit the shot.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the hardest part, especially like when it's a bunch of different defenders playing on you. Like you got to know how they defend, how to attack them, and it's a whole lot of stuff that goes into it. But as long as you get to that spot and you can hit it, then it's almost automatic every time.
So jumping ahead, probably bad memory, but you had a shot that every NAIA basketball fan thought was going down against Talladega at the end of that game, and it ended a drop. You had a chance for a putback, it didn't go back. You know, does that play over and over in your head?
Oh yeah, all the time. Me and my guy Noah Pack, we've talked about it, and it haunts both of us, obviously. But we didn't let it take away from the kind of season that we had, because no one expected us to get that far and do the things that we did. So we don't let it hang over our heads for too long.
Well, that's good. I just watching as a fan, you think, wow, that's going to haunt them for a little bit. But you played you beat Sagu pretty handily, and then you played two of the best games there in Kansas City. I thought that Oklahoma Wesleyan game, man, they should have double charged for that thing. Was that a wild game? They're a good team, weren't they?
Oh yeah, I've never played against a team that ran 5 in, 5 out, because as you know, we had Reed Jolly go out the first like seven or 8.
Yes.
Which huge. Like if we would have, I feel like if we would have had him, we could have won that game a lot easier and the next one. But that 5 in, 5 out, it'll wear on you. Like that, having a whole new lineup coming in, like that team is probably, other than us, is probably the most disciplined team that we've ever played.
Yeah.
Like in my 3 playing NAIA, that is easily the second to us, or you can say 1A, 1B, but like they were super disciplined, and like they had All-American coming off the bench, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they have most of their players coming back, so they're going to be just as good as they were, even better than they were this year. But that team was super physical. Like after that game, everyone was turning around like, man, like we're big.
Yeah.
And like we had a lot of guys play 30 plus, 35 plus really, and we just came out of there like, man. Every team has to be lucky to win games, but like that game was just like pure grit and grind the entire way.
Yeah, and you guys outlasted them. I mean, they never quit. I mean, they came at you till the final buzzer. I agree with you, Ryan. I thought the injury to Reed, number one, it was terrible to see that happen in the finals like that, but I thought that was really significant to your team. He tried to come back the next day and looked like he was going to be able to go, but yeah, I thought that was very unfortunate for you guys.
Yeah, and we were missing a Logan Swackhammer, our vet point guard, which I think would have helped us a lot more too. But I mean, you can't have it all back. So we all like I said, we all talked about it, and we know what kind of season we had, and if we would have had the guys that we needed, then we think we could have made a push even further.
I want to now. I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to jump ahead to your this season that we just played.
Yes, sir.
Back to the start of the season. A game that I was surprised at a little bit. I was really looking forward to that game against Marion, and I think you had to go to Indianapolis and play them, didn't you?
We played at Thomas More, yeah.
Oh, you played at Thomas More, and they beat you the second game of the season.
Yep.
Did that seemed to be a marker in your season, at least to me, because after that game, you guys really got on a roll, and you guys played some of the most consistent basketball in the country after that game.
Right. Yeah, it was. We knew Marion would be tough. We didn't have all the players that we needed. Like we didn't have Jacob Jones, our point guard, and then I don't think we had Reed at the time. He was kind of battling some minor injury stuff. But yeah, that for sure was a turnaround for us to kind of get us ready for our conference, because Marion is probably as tough as a team that we'll play. Yeah, when we went on that roll, like we knew that we still could have even won the Marion game. We had a lot of things that we had to fix, especially defensively. And then especially offensively, like we were one of the hottest teams in the country. I remember Coach Ray telling us that we were, as far as points per possession, the most efficient team in the country at almost all levels. He told us some crazy number, and we were all like, "What? Like,
wow.
No way!" So we kind of took that. So in previous years, we were better defensively than we were offensively. So that's what kept us in a lot of games the last 2 years. And this year, even if we had games where we weren't really doing as well defensively, we still had our offense. So because we had so many weapons, especially towards midway through the season, we had a lot of guys that could score the ball, fill it up.
Yeah, Ryan, what was the deal with Cumberland's Kentucky? Was that your kryptonite? What was the deal with that?
It was just a super tough matchup for us. They had Jahi, they had other guard. I can't. Those two, that's probably like the two best like wing scorers in our conference easily. We tried everything. Like we've tried to like zone them. We've tried man. Like it's even been points where like they put me on Jahi Henson and we had to like switch around like defensive matchups. But that was actually the first team that started like hard doubling in the post.
Okay.
They figured take Reed out of the game and like try to make other guys score. Which we definitely had guys that were capable, because we did it against a whole bunch of other teams, but it's just something about Cumberland's Kentucky that we couldn't get past, especially the last 2 years. The year before, when they had like Tevin Allison, they had Briggs and guys like that, and the big kid, we were able to beat them handily. But the last 2 years, we kind of struggled a little bit, kind of let them get under our skin in those games. But those games were like the Marion game that kind of turned around our season and like how we thought about ourselves, and that we kind of flipped the switch after those games. Like we knew we had a lot of things that we had to work on.
Yeah, those were the only games you dropped after Marion until you got to that Mid-South Championship. You get to the Mid-South Championship, you're going to have to play Georgetown. And
right.
Georgetown has something to prove, right?
Yep.
And how devastating was that for you to lose that Georgetown game? What was the mood of the team after that?
Oh, it hurt us. I mean, we knew we still had the national tournaments, but it hurt us because we've been there the last 2 years and lost like the exact same way. Especially like 3 years NAIA, and 3 years we've been to the Mid-South Championship and lost. Like obviously it hurt us a lot, but like Coach Ray was telling us literally right after the game, he said we still got tournament time.
Yeah.
The national tournament, like he said, when you make a deep run in the tournament, no one will remember what happened in the Mid-South Conference. And like he said, we got there, and then after the season, we're like, wow, we really lost the Mid-South Conference because we literally forgot about it because of the deep run that we had in the national tournament. So It definitely hurt a lot. It would have been nice to have an actual tournament championship, but I think the Mason coaches would agree that that deep run meant a lot more to us than that.
So you lost that championship game to Georgetown. Did that propel you guys? That's not the word. Did that brace you guys? Were you feeling a little more hungry getting ready for the NAIA tournament?
Oh yeah, we took a day or two off, and we got back into practice, and we were competing like crazy, especially the first 2 or 3 days, because after the tournament you have probably like a week and a half or so until the national tournament. So like we were competing those next 2-3 days, and then we took the last 2-3 days to kind of prepare for SAGU. And we usually at certain points of the season we come together, talk about and like recap about like a stretch of games. Well, I think that's what we were really good at. We were really good at coming together and gelling together again after maybe things didn't go our way. But we knew we were good enough to bounce back. We had the vets. We had guys that understood what we had to do to win and things we can't do. And we know that we had a small margin of error when it comes to playing really any team.
Ryan, what was it? Tell people what it's like to play in the Mid-South Conference. That's a pretty tough place to play.
Oh man, it's physical. Even I don't know who is the worst team in our conference, but like Bethel, like they beat Georgetown, I think, and that's when we clinched it. I think it was Bethel or Life. Oh, it was Life. Life beat Georgetown, and they were like bottom half of our conference. We beat Life by maybe 8 points.
Wow.
Bethel, who was last in our conference, they came to our gym and we barely beat them. I think we beat them by 6. So like the bottom half of our conference is like still elite. Like it's guys on those teams that can fill it up. Teams defend well, and I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of Mid-South scores are like 60, like 70 to 60, 65, 60. So like it's the whole 40 minutes. No matter what team you're playing, you know you're going to get their best, especially when you're supposed to be the best team in the conference. You're going to get your best out of every team. No game will be a crazy blowout unless like you're really locked in and the other team is just like not hitting anything or not playing particularly as well as they really are, as they usually do. So the Mid-South, it's a grind. Like literally every game, you can't just go in there, then you can just roll the balls out. Like you have to have a game plan for every single team. And I think that with the coaching staff and like the players preparing, I think we did really well with that kind of stuff, knowing the mental part of the game and being ready for it physically as well too.
Ryan, I know you're looking at, what options you may have next season, but can you take a moment and just talk about what it's meant to be part of Thomas More Saints basketball?
Oh, it's a blessing. I'm forever grateful for them for taking me in, and Coach Ray and that coaching staff and those guys that were before me that brought me in. We really built a brotherhood there. I love those guys there. A lot of them are local guys. So we had, outside of basketball, we had a lot of time together doing team stuff, just being out, hanging out around campus and everything, and even off campus. We really built a family there, and I think a great culture. But those guys I'll forever remember those moments that I had with them, especially in that deep run. And I think we realized that we built something great there, and it'll continue to get better for sure.
And I know you're not done, but what a career you've had up to this point. You should be very proud.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It very, very time consuming, and it takes a lot of heart to continue to play basketball because it's tough. It takes a lot of time, a lot of sacrifices. But if you want to be a good player, good team, good organization, then those are the sacrifices you have to make. So you have to take some things away to gain. That's just how it is sometimes.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
Yes,
again,
sir.
Congratulations on the great run you had last year, but thank you for being on, Ryan.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.
That's Ryan Batte, first team All-American, Thomas More Saints. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.